Hi everyone and welcome back to National League Lowdown with me, Dan. As you can see, I'm joined by Louis this evening. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, Dan. Football aside, all good. But yeah, hopefully this won't be a depressing podcast given the results we've had over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be the most uplifting podcast, but we'll try our best. We'll definitely try our best. And we're joined by Ryan. This is your second visit this season, mate, on the podcast. Thanks for joining us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm doing really well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me back on the podcast. Really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to good talking all things National League. It's been an eventful midweek, and that's putting it lightly, really, given the late drama and the goals and the controversy and everything else.
Yeah, there's a lot to cover. A lot of goals, a lot of late goals, and things like that. So we'll get straight into Scunthorpe first. Obviously, Ryan, you're a Scunthorpe supporter. You're having a good season, but in a bit of poor form at the moment. I've got it down here: four draws and one defeat in the last 5 games. Is that right? No, sorry, four
Um,
defeats,
I'm,
four defeats
yeah.
and one draw. Sorry, in the last, reading that wrong. Last 5 games, conceding 16 goals. That's not great, is it? Andy Butler's been out and said that he's looking at new players. Do you think you need defensive reinforcements, or do you just think you need reinforcements across the board?
I think we need defensive reinforcements, to be honest, more than anything else. Our issue this season hasn't been scoring goals. Even in this bad patch, I know we didn't score on Tuesday, which we'll come on to later, but in general, we've been scoring 2 or 3 goals every game. That's not been the issue. What's been the main issue all season, in fairness, is keeping goals out and keeping clean sheets. I think at the moment we've got a couple of defenders that are playing sort of with minor injuries as well, which isn't helping. And a lot of that is to do with the fact that we've got quite a thin squad. We obviously don't have the biggest budget in the division, which obviously most people will know. And yeah, we are struggling a little bit at the moment. I think there has been an overreaction from a certain section of the fan base. There's been a few sort of calls for Butler to go and a few digs at the board and things like that, which for me is just mental, really, given where we've come from. We obviously got promoted last year in the National League North. Near enough perfection, not quite. Obviously, perfection would have been winning the league, but we got the next best thing in coming second and winning the playoffs. And I think what we've done this season, even now sat in fifth, I think it's probably 10 or 11 places better than anybody would have reasonably hoped for at the start of the season. That doesn't get away from the fact that we've been poor in the last few weeks and a couple of the performances haven't been acceptable. But I think these players and the club have got enough credit in the bank to sort of be allowed a couple of off days. I think if we're having the same conversation in 3 or 4 weeks' time, given the fixtures that we've got coming up, I know we've got Solihull on Saturday, and then we've got, I think, Yeovil away, Sutton at home, Altrincham at home, Truro away, and Braintree away. I think that's our next 6 now. So if we're having the same conversation in a month's time and we've not picked up any wins, then I think it's a different story and a different outlook. But I think that the players have earned enough credit to warrant this kind of bad run. I think everybody's had a bad run at some point, barring Rochdale and York, who are just freaks, to be honest. I mean, what they've done is incredible, setting a ridiculous standard in terms of points and goal scoring. So fair play to them. I know we'll come on to them later as well. But yeah, I think some fans just need to realign their expectations slightly. Like I say, not covering up the fact it hasn't been good enough, and I think we do need help defensively, and I think that is going to come. It has been mentioned today in Andy Butler's pre-match interview with the local radio that reinforcements are coming, and I'd be very surprised if at least one of them isn't in defence, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you've said there as well about the form you've been in, but you've actually had a tough run of games as well, playing teams in and around the playoffs, or York being one that we're going to talk about shortly. But I think the only one to me that looked a bit damaging was the Boston one, wasn't it? With conceding 6 at home to Boston isn't great. Fair enough, Boston are in great form, but that was the game where I looked and I thought, "Ooh, Scunthorpe having a bit of a wobble." You know, coming to Carlisle, I think that game could have been very different. you guys had chances. It wasn't that we battered yous or outplayed yous or anything like that. But the Boston one for me was the one where I looked and thought maybe having a bit of a wobble. But you mentioned it there, and I've said all season for I think for Scunthorpe and Boreham Wood, context's key. You can have a bad run of form, but where you are in the league from coming up from last season, you've got, you night and day difference. Like, I think pre-season predictions, everyone kind of had Scunthorpe and Boreham Wood mid-table ish. I think Mark, to be fair, had Scunthorpe a bit higher than that, but where he is at, he's a massively overachieving from expectations. So I think, yeah, you're right. People just need to tailor their expectations a little bit. I think calling for the manager is a bit much, considering what a job he's done. I think he's, like you said, credit in the bank as well. I just wanted to ask as well. So you obviously mentioned the games coming up. I think you'll get playoffs comfortably. Is it now just for the rest of the season just a matter of trying to build a bit of momentum, get some a winning run together, and go into the playoffs full of confidence? Do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm less convinced that the playoffs are necessarily secure as yet. But I think we'd have to go on a really bad run. I think the last 3 seasons, 70 points has been enough to get in the top 7. And I would be surprised if you'll need too much more than that this season, given Rochdale and York's dominance, especially, given the fact that they're pretty much beating everybody at the moment. Obviously, Rochdale have had a few draws lately, but on the whole, they've set such a ridiculous standard. So we're currently sat on 60 points. So that's 10 points from the last 13 games. And my view is if we can't achieve that, then we don't deserve to be in the playoffs anyway. But honestly, deep down, I do think we'll get there. I think we'll get in the top 7. I'm not saying we won't finish 6th or 7th now, given obviously the drop off recently. But I'm trying to stay positive. I think that there's a lot still to be positive about. I think the club are doing really well. They're doing some really good things. The board are doing the best. They don't have deep pockets like a previous owner that we had, where he was chucking money at it for a few years. We haven't got that now. We're not that club anymore. And we've got to sort of realise our place, understand where we are as a club. I mean, I take York, for example. They obviously had 5 years in the National League North, came up to the National League and actually struggled in the first season. I think they finished 18th and 19th. And I think the fact that we're sat in 5th is a good reflection of actually how well we have done. And there's other clubs as well. There's other examples that I could give of clubs that have just come up. It is a big step up. Obviously, this league, we've seen it all season. The quality is there. Pretty much every side is full time now. And I believe our budget is about 14th in this division. It's certainly no higher than mid-table. So I think we're doing great things. I think it's important to lose. I think it's easy to lose that context when you're on a bit of a bad run. As you say, I thought the performance at Carlisle was okay. I thought individual errors cost us more than anything there. There was a couple of sort of dubious refereeing decisions where sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. That's just part of football. I thought the point away at Rochdale was fantastic. I think that's been lost in everything else, all the other chaos of the other game. I thought that was as good as a win, really. I know it wasn't a win, but it was as close to a win as you could get, really, given how sort of backs to the wall it was in the second half. I think the Boston and the Aldershot ones are the real disappointments. You can't concede 6 at home, and I'm not going to come on here and pretend like that's acceptable and that's okay. But like I say, I think there will be defensive reinforcements coming. I just hope that we can tighten up a little bit, because although we were conceding quite a few all season, I think we've only kept 4 or 5 clean sheets this season, which isn't enough really for a side that's sort of in the top 7. That's something that we can improve on. But yeah, on the whole, I am genuinely still quite positive. I know some people aren't, but I really am. I think it's been a good first season back in the National League. I think we've shown ourselves in a positive light, and yeah, I am hopeful for the future. Do I think we'll go up? Probably not. That's the honest answer. But I would like to now get in the top 7 and at least be here to find out, rather than sort of blowing our playoff place. I think that would be a disappointment now. I wouldn't call it a failure, because I think we've already overachieved. So I think it'd be unfair to call it a failure, but it would be a major disappointment now if we didn't at least make the top 7, given the gap that we've we've had to wait for quite a long while, really.
Yeah, definitely. Louis, I know you've got a question for Ryan.
Yeah, I know you've just said that you don't think you'll win the league, but we'll talk hypotheticals. Win the playoffs. Sorry, we'll talk hypotheticals. If you were to win the playoffs, if you were to be victorious at Wembley, do you think the club's ready for League Two? You said you've not got the biggest budget in this league. It's obviously different to when you were last in the Football League in terms of the owner you had. Do you think the club on and off the pitch is ready for League Two, or do you think it would be a season too early to go up?
Very difficult one. I think the club would be okay in League Two. I think the ground, to be fair, has looked better than it ever has done. We've got a team of volunteers now that are working on the ground every day, doing an absolutely unbelievable job. There's a lot of things that you have to comply to now. Even just to be in the National League, there was things that we had to do to the ground in terms of certain things with the dugouts and little things that people don't even realise that obviously they've had to do as a club. I think it would be ready. Obviously, we've got the experience of being in there before. I think as well, when you're in the EFL, you get quite a lot of grants. You get sort of funding for an academy, which unfortunately we don't have at the moment. I think that's a big disadvantage as well, that we can't bring anybody up through the ranks because we haven't got an academy. So that's something that we'd be able to reinstate if we did get back to the Football League. And there's other little sort of loans and grants and things that you can pick up from obviously the EFL. So yeah, I think the club could survive. I think League Two isn't all that strong, particularly at the bottom end of League Two, the bottom half of League Two. I'm sure you guys have said it plenty before, that I think actually the top half of the National League would compete with the bottom half of League Two quite comfortably. So in footballing terms, I think we'd be okay. We've got the firepower up front. We've got the likes of Callum Roberts and Danny Whitehall that have had great seasons. I mean, even they've took a lot of stick recently, but the numbers are there for all to see. They've had fantastic seasons. You've got Callum Roberts with 17 goals, I think it is, in all competitions, and Danny Whitehall with 15, I think, in all competitions. So they're not doing bad. And yeah, I think there'd be work to do. I think there'd be sort of big decisions to be made. I think one of the biggest problems this season is that our squad depth, as I said earlier, hasn't quite been up to it in terms of in comparison to the sides that we're competing with. I think part of that is obviously to do with the budget, but I think also part of that is the fact that we've only just come up from the division below. So you are naturally going to still be carrying some National League North standard players, also to speak. So I think that's normal. I don't think that's necessarily an issue. It's very difficult to sort of change a squad in one window, like we had. Well, that's all we had in the summer, really. We had one window to try and sort of get a National League squad and be competitive, and we've done that, and we've done really well. And actually, we haven't had too many injuries. We've been quite fortunate in that respect. We've had a few sort of injuries here and there. We've got a couple in defence at the minute, but in terms of big injuries and long-term injuries, we haven't done too bad, which is quite fortunate because the squad depth, as I said, isn't the same as the likes of York and Rochdale. And that's not a criticism of the club. That's just where we're at as a club and where we're looking to go to, really.
Yeah, definitely, mate. So we're going to start with the deep dive now. We've got Scunthorpe 0, York 3. Obviously, we'll start with that for obvious reasons. Ryan, what did you make of this game, mate?
Firstly, I'd like to talk about York, firstly, to be honest. I thought they were the best side to come to Glanford Park in years. And I'm not over-exaggerating when I say that. I thought they were unbelievable from minute one. I thought Josh Stones was the best striker I've seen live at Glanford Park in years, again. Definitely since we dropped out the EFL nearly 4 years ago now. I thought he was unbelievable. He was unplayable at times. Obviously, both of his goals were fantastic. I mean, I'll come on to Scunthorpe's defending in a minute. I think we could do a lot better. Don't get me wrong, but Josh Stones could have had 5 on the night. He was that good. The second goal for me was the most frustrating one. Obviously, Andrew Boyce lost his aerial duel with Ollie Pearce, which, don't get me wrong, he's a great player, but he shouldn't be losing the ball in the air like that, a man of his size. We don't stop the cross easy enough on the left-hand side, and to be fair, Brandon Horton's gone to clear the ball with his foot rather than being brave and sticking his head in there. And obviously York get the second goal, and that kills the game. That's the frustrating one for me. In terms of us, I think we can do a lot better. I think we've played worse this season and won, which sounds ridiculous after losing 3-0. I thought actually some of our general play was okay between both boxes, but unfortunately, football, as we all know, is won in both boxes, and that's just a fact. We didn't create enough for obviously a home team. I think we maybe had 2 shots on target, which against anybody at home isn't enough. So obviously, there's things that we can improve on. But I think a lot of credit has to go to York, and as I said earlier, they've not had it all their own way in the last few years. They've had their own ownership issues before, and I've got massive amount of respect for York. They've done it obviously the right way. They have spent a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. But fair play to them. They're having a great season. I mean, even Josh Stones, obviously they paid a lot of money for him, but it didn't work out necessarily to start with. I know some of their fans were actually having doubts about why they paid all that money for him, but if he performs like he did on Tuesday, I can see exactly why, because he was that good. Yeah, much better, much better. I thought they were better than Rochdale, to be honest. Obviously, I've seen both sides in the last week because we played them both. I thought they were better than Rochdale. They were strong, they were physical, they were powerful. They got the ball forward quickly. And they had all the ingredients to me of a side that are going to win the league. I've been very 50-50 in the last few weeks as to who's going to do it. Obviously, it's a gripping title race, but for me, after seeing York, I think they're the champions in waiting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, to be honest, I watched this game and it reminded me a lot of when York came to Brunton Park. I think I put it on social media. I said, "You're not the first, and you won't be the last this season to have York rock up and make us look ordinary. That's not a shade on you. That's just how good they are." I've very much been in the camp up until very recently of I think Rochdale are going to win the league after Rochdale's wobble that we're going to talk about in the last few weeks. And watching York just blow teams away. And then even when they're not playing that great, they had that Hartlepool game where they got the last minute penalty and just got over the line. They just don't look like they're going to mess up at all. Is it 23 games now unbeaten? Like, it's insane. It's half the season. It's insane. So yeah, I'm with you, mate. I think York just look outstanding and unstoppable at the minute. Louis, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, just a bit to add on Stones. I mean, the guy's an absolute monster, isn't he? I mean, is it Upler calls him the Ginger Buffalo? I think it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best way to call him. He's just a physical menace, and as a defender, you just don't want to come up against him. But he's technically really good as well. Like his first goal, because he's both footed, you don't know whether he's going on his left or his right, and he manages to go on his left and drill it across the goalkeeper and puts it in. And then his third goal, I've watched a lot of Norwich when I was younger because my dad's a Norwich fan. It's very Grant Holt-esque, I would say. Bullies his defender, barrows it in from a tight angle, and the lad's only 22. So this kid he's so young in football terms. Like he's got another 6 years until he's in his prime potentially. Like you think how much of an all-rounded player he's going to be in a couple of years' time. The ceiling's so high for this lad, and obviously with Pearce, he's towards the end of his career, so that's probably why suitors haven't come around. But York have obviously had transfer interest for him, and it wouldn't surprise me even if they go up that they get it from higher up the pyramid because of his age, because of his physical ability, and because of his technical ability. He's just a top striker for the level, and he's really found his form. And I think the biggest credit you can give York here is that they've been able to adapt their style of play. They obviously were known for a passing style of play, sitting on the ball in defence and waiting for the team to come out to then sort of pass it around them, inviting pressure on. But they're not afraid to go up long to Stones here, lump up to him to get men around him, as they did for the third goal. And they did it just before they scored their first as well. So, yeah, full credit to York. I've always been in the York camp, but I just think, as I said to you off air before, Dan, I think this title race potentially could be over in 4 to 6 weeks' time because I just don't see York letting up at all.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I think that's a really solid shout, given the way Rochdale have been playing. Just on Stones' second goal as well. I know you can criticise the defending, the goalkeeper potentially, but that's everything you want from your striker. He's not gave up on it. He's chasing what looks like a lost cause at the time, hunts it down, and then finishes from what was a near impossible angle And then gave the goalkeeper a bit of stick after he scored as well, which I'll always be a fan of that kind of behaviour. I can get behind that. But yeah, absolutely outstanding from them. Next up, we've got Halifax 2, Rochdale 2. Rochdale, I just don't know what to say. It's just another draw. And, you know, any other season, they can probably afford to draw a few games, but just the standard that's been set this year, draws are like defeats at this point. Louis, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, if you'd have said a couple of weeks ago to Rochdale fans that you get a point at Halifax, they probably might have thought it's not a bad point, but in the context, it's a horrific point. I mean, going 2-0 up as they did, first goal was lovely football, as we know Rochdale do. They play it from front to back so effortlessly and so easily. And it was really good. And obviously found Rodney on the edge of the box and he came in. Probably Johnson could do better because it's at his near post, I think. But yeah, really nice goal for them. Halifax had started quite well up to that point as well. I think they had a couple of chances before that. Both sides did have chances in this game. It was a fairly open game, I think, from watching the highlights and looking at the statistics. I think Rochdale probably had the better ones. Henderson had one on 75 minutes where he went one, and you think a player of his experience and quality should be finishing in it, and it looked like he got caught in between two minds to chip the goalkeeper or around him. But then they obviously got their second. Gilmore nicked it in midfield, and they always make a hash of it. It's a pretty poor attempt from Smith, I think it was, who managed to get it in at a narrow angle. When you go 2-0 up, you think they're home and dry, especially considering the defensive record so far this season has been their biggest strength. But Halifax obviously came back into it. Fortunate equaliser. I don't think he knows much about it. It comes sort of off his chest as it's flicked on by a Rochdale head. It's just poor defending from Rochdale. Like the guy's completely free. He runs the full length of the width basically, and he's free on the far right hand side of the 6-yard box to essentially chest it in or get something on it to put it in the back of the net. When you look at their last 5 games, Rochdale, they've kept 1 clean sheet. You look at the 5 games previously, they've kept 2 clean sheets in those games and 2 goals conceded. And it's 5 goals conceded in the last 5 games as well. So those small margins that they were winning games by before aren't happening now, and it's really coming back to cost them.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I know when I was making my case for Rochdale winning the league, the main reason was that they weren't conceding many goals and they were grinding out results. That, like we've said at the time, I think when you were talking about York, that isn't sustainable. You can't just keep winning games 1-0 or seeing games out. Yeah, you do have to start scoring more goals and things. So worrying for Rochdale, but I would say, just to add to that Halifax played well. I seen a bit of this game. I was flicking the channels between the games. Halifax looked like they had a lot of the ball, had some really, even when it was 2-0. I was watching it. I think I messaged Craig and said if Halifax get one, they could get another here, because they were still creating chances even at 2-0. So credit to Halifax. It's a massive result for them, given that they'd lost the previous 2 and one of them being Gateshead at home as well. So they've stopped their little bad mini run, if you will. Ryan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, I thought that was a real bad one for Rochdale. I think to go 2-0 up so late in the game, and not see it out, it feels really damaging for them. That I think before the night, I think York fans, I know we were in poor form. I think they'd have seen Scunthorpe away as a tough game and a potential sort of game that could slip up. And obviously they did their job, and to see Rochdale concede 2 so late in the game, that's an absolute killer for them. They'll be absolutely gutted about that. I mean, they cannot really afford any more slip ups now. They need to get straight back on it and put another winning run together. They can't afford to even draw another sort of 2 or 3 games, because they'll be out of the race if they do. Because York are not stopping anytime soon. Like you say, 23 games unbeaten. It's just unbelievable from them. So yeah, bad one for Rochdale. I thought their first goal was really nice, actually. Really good one and 2 touch passing. Great finish from Rodney. He was the standout player last week, actually, when Scunthorpe played Rochdale. I thought Rodney was a real talent in that number 10, finding pockets of space between the midfield and defence. So yeah, great goal for them. I don't know if he meant the last goal. Obviously, there was a flick on and it kind of just came off his chest. I don't know if it was good skill or a little bit of luck or a bit of both, but they won't care. Great point for Halifax. I was kind of hoping Rochdale won, to be honest with you, from a Scunthorpe perspective, with Halifax currently sat just at the edge of the playoff spots. So, yeah, it could be crucial for Halifax as well as Rochdale at the end of the season. That could be the difference for them between finishing in the playoffs and not.
Yeah, definitely. That point could make all the difference. Getting tight down there, given a couple of other results through midweek. So yeah, big result for Halifax. Next up, we've got Forest Green 2, Boston 3. Sounds closer than it was, I think. Boston were 3-0 up at half time. Carlisle were 3-0 up at half time when we were there the week before. Forest Green in really poor form at the moment. Ryan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, what a job Paul Hurst is doing. Former Scunthorpe United manager as well, doing an unbelievable job with Boston. I don't think they've lost since he's gone in there. They've had some unbelievable results. I mean, is it Frank Maguire, I think, in really good form at the moment, and Tom Curzons as well. I mean, the problem with Boston earlier on in the season was not scoring enough goals, and they're doing that at the moment. They're on fire. They're upsetting some of the big boys, and yeah, who's to say they can't make a late playoff push? I think they're a little bit too far behind, but it's not impossible. We know what happened with Boston last season when they looked doomed in terms of relegation and went on the most unbelievable run with Graham Coughlin. So yeah, so great for Boston. Forest Green, 1 win in 9 now, I think. Not good enough for a team like that. You look at their budget, you look at the amount of players that they've got. And they've obviously got Robbie Savage there as well as manager. He'll be really disappointed with that. And similar to Scunthorpe, really, they'll be wanting to get back on the winning trail quite quickly before their playoff place ends up in major doubt as well. I believe I think they're 7 points clear at the moment, but they've played more games than a couple of the sides around them as well. So yeah, their playoff place certainly isn't secure yet, and they'll be really disappointed with that one, especially conceding 3 in the first 40 minutes. Not good enough for Forest Green, but credit to Boston, massive win for them, and yeah, fair play to Paul Hurst.
Yeah, summed it up really well there, mate. Boston absolutely flying. Paul Hurst doing a great job. For me, Forest Green, I think they'll have one eye over the shoulder now in them playoff places with the form they're in. The team's catching them up rapidly, and they've played more games than, like you said, than everybody else around them as well. So there's catch up to be had as well. So I think that cushion that they have won't be there for long. So they will have to turn this around pretty soon if they want to stay in the playoffs. Louis, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, credit to Boston. Proper away performance. That you go there, you get you win your corners, you set pieces, you get your penalties. It was a really, really good away performance. But from a Forest Green point of view, it's just abysmal. Like the first goal, it's a stupid challenge to making the penalty area. I don't know why he's got his foot up near a player's head. I mean, the referee took ages to give it. I don't really know why. And then it's terrible play by Campbell in the middle of the park as well for Boston's third goal. He's so weak in the challenge, he loses it, and they go through, and they kill the game essentially at that point. And it's embarrassing that Forest Green, coming out for the second half, didn't have an attempt on goal until they scored, which was the 71st minute, I think it was. It's just shocking. I mean, this is a club that since January the 1st, they're 17th in the National League table, so they're a bottom third side so far this year. They've conceded 1.9 goals since the 1st of January per game, and they've got points of 0.9 points per game, so they're really in bad form. I'd argue that, sixth or seventh is probably a good season for them, but the problem is that they've signed 27 players. They've got so much big expectations on them, and it just piles so much pressure on them because you signed all these players, and if you don't go up, where's the sustainability of it? What are you going to do in the summer? Are you going to bring in another 10 players? When what happens to the 10 players that you brought in the summer, the 10 players you brought in the winter, and the 10 players you bring in after that? It's a really difficult situation for them to be in, and I think they're gambling with going up, and it's really, really dangerous from them. They've got a big set of fixtures coming up. They've got 3 big games: Gateshead away, Aldershot at home, and Southend away. They're massive games. They're season-defining games for Forest Green. They have to get on the winning trail. They have to get on some points because, as you said, that Southend game as well is crucial because obviously Southend are the side that are chasing them down. On the flip side, as I said, with Boston, since Paul Hurst's been appointed, they're 4th in the National League, 17 points from 8 games. They've beaten a lot of the sides at the top of the table. It's outstanding stuff from them. And are they in the playoff race? They're not far off it. Who knows? They're the ones in form.
Yeah, stranger things have happened, lads. Stranger things have happened. Just on Forest Green quickly before we move on. What concerned? Well, if I was a Forest Green fan, it would have concerned me after the game. Was Savage come out and said basically that the players weren't good enough, they weren't trying enough, apart from McAllister and Doidge. And what worries me is both of them players were there before Savage came in. Everybody else he signed, and he's basically come out and called them all rubbish. I'm not sure what that says what to people. Like, I know what he said to me, as in that's why you keep signing so many players over and over again, because the ones you're getting originally aren't good enough. So I think you hit the nail on the head, Louis. They're putting all their eggs in the will go up basket. If they don't go up, I don't know what to do, because they've got so much dead wood in that squad. And I know because Carlisle done it last season. We brought loads of players in the January, and we're still lumbered with them now on big wages that we can't get rid of, and it becomes a real problem financially and morale wise in the squad as well. You've got people there on big money sat there doing nothing. It would worry me as a Forest Green fan as where the sustainability is for it. But hey, credit to Boston, big win for them again, and they're making our manager of the month and player of the month a relatively easy one this month, I would say, at the moment. Gateshead 4, Morecambe 4 next up. What a game of football. I don't think anybody expected it to be such an exciting game. I actually flicked this on because I'd had enough of watching Carlisle getting battered, so I put this one on. If anyone tells me that Chadwick meant his hat-trick goal, the Lion, it was a cross, his body shape was all wrong, everything. It was a cross that got scuffed and went in the bottom corner. He won't care, to be fair. He won't care. But really great game of football for the neutral. Probably not for either team, because I don't think a draw solves anything for either of them. Both teams probably it's probably, in the context of the game, it's probably a better draw for Gateshead because they were 3-1 down at one point. So it's probably a better draw for them, but both sides really needed to win. Louis, what did you make of this one?
Yeah, usually with these relegation six-pointers, they're nervy affairs that are low margins that end up being 0-0 or 1-0 or 1-1. But this was just not the case at all. It was the game of the midweek. I really like Gateshead opener. I think it was a really well worked goal, and I think Mark Beck did really well. He deserves a lot of credit for. He gets the ball, the cross in, and he could just head it back across goal. Goalkeeper would probably get that, but he doesn't. He picks out Keaton Ward, and it's a lovely finish from him. And yeah, Chris Popoff, I think, is the star here. Just smart number 9 play for him. He's only a young lad on loan from Leicester, I think it is. And his first and second goals, he's at the right place at the right time. And then the third one, he rounds the keeper and tucks it away. And I think it was a really good performance for him. The problem with this is, as you say, neither side benefit from the point, I don't think. You look at Morecambe, you score 4 goals on the road. You're 4-2 up, I think it was, in the game. I can't remember how the goals went. And you drop 2 points in that sense. It's a poor point. Gateshead, you're at home against the relegation side. You score 4 goals and you come away with a point. It's a terrible point for both sides, I think. And it's the kind of performance and result both managers would probably scream for maybe 6 weeks ago, where you go, the performance was good. Defensively, there are things to work on, but it's kind of a bit late now to sort of try and fix those. Gateshead had 24 attempts on goal. I think it's a case of just finishing their chances for them. This is the time where they need to pick it up, though, because Boston were in this position, as we said, 1st of March last year. Boston with 13 points off safety. They went and won 10 out of their last 16 games. They now need, one of these sides now need to do that again. I think Gateshead are the more likely. I don't think it's Morecambe. Morecambe, if you look at the points per game of the teams they've got coming up, they've got the worst run in the league based on that. They've got to play teams that have an average of 1.6 points per game in the league. So they've got a really really tough set of fixtures. And we said how horrible it is for their fans. I read somewhere on Twitter they've achieved 3 promotions and 0 relegations in their 101 year of existence to start with. And in the last 5 years, they've had 3 relegations. So yeah, it's a pretty bleak time to be a Morecambe fan. I'm not going to put my eggs in their basket on them staying up, but Gateshead, I think, are the ones out of the two that have probably got the better chance.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying on Gateshead there, I remember I said when I watched them at Hartlepool, and I was like, they got beat that game, but it changed because they went down to 10 men. I can see what they're trying to do. Like, they can see the improvement. So I agree with you. I think if anyone's going to get out of that trouble, out of them ones that look like they're a bit doomed, I would go with Gateshead as well. They've still got to play some teams in and around them as well. If they can win them instead of drawing them, then I think they'll be in business. Ryan, what did you make of this one, mate?
I think you guys have summed it up pretty well, to be honest. Crazy game. As you say, not great for either team, really. Probably slightly better for Gateshead in the fact that they were 3-1 and 4-3 down. And I think Gateshead have got a couple of extra games on Morecambe as well. It's probably slightly better for Gateshead, but not much good for either team. Obviously, two different players getting a hat trick in Christopher Popov and Billy Chadwick as well. That was a player that we actually had as well on loan earlier on in the season. Billy Chadwick did quite work out here for him. I think he only scored one goal in the end. But fair play to him. It looks like he's doing quite well down there, well up there. And yeah, fair play to him. Mark Beck, a player that's actually on loan from Scunthorpe as well. I believe he did go off with a shoulder injury at the end of the first half. So I don't know if he's now going to be out for a little while, which would be a blow to Gateshead. Given his recent form, he's obviously scored a few goals and a couple of assists as well. So yeah, that'd be a blow for them. But yeah, not much good for either. Great game of football for a neutral. End to end, could have finished probably 6 or 7 all really, given some of the chances as well that were missed in the game. I think with Morecambe, I think Jim Bentley will get them on the right path. But I think it's going to come too late this season in terms of survival. I think they need to start looking towards next season and being really competitive in the National League North, which I'm sure they will be. They're a reasonably big club for that level in particular. And yeah, I think Jim Bentley is a good appointment, but I think it's come a little bit too late, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've said that on here numerous times. I think they'll be a victim of the fact that they've waited too long to replace the manager, and it's on the owners. The fans deserve better. They wanted the manager out originally, and they waited too long to pull the trigger. And sadly, it's probably going to cost them in the long run. Next up, we've got Eastleigh 2, Truro 1. Another big result down the bottom. Eastleigh pied ways with Scott Bartlett, interim manager in charge. That new manager bounce that everyone talks about. Truro look doomed to me. Louis, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, is it Richard Hill that's in
Yeah,
charge till the end of the season? Yeah, fourth time in charge of Eastleigh for him. So a familiar face in the dugout. This was a game that was going to be an R5-5 until about 70 minutes because it seemed like an absolute bore fest. 71 minutes, Truro had a massive chance, an outstanding interception or challenge on the goal line from Humphreys on Harvey, who pretty much had sort of a tap in at the back post from across. And football, as it happens, 1 minute later, Eastleigh go up the other end, they nick it, and Ini Effiong gets his goal on his debut, having signed earlier on in the day. Yeah, I mean, overall, it's a massive win for Eastleigh. Truro, as you say, I think their promotion out of the National League South maybe came a bit too soon for them. They went full time this summer. Obviously, it was their first season in a national level, and it's such a big jump from the National League South to the National League for any side. But for a side like Truro, I think considering all of the off-field stuff with where they are located, the distances there for travel and the transition to full-time football, I think it's just been a bit too much for them. And I do think that out of the four, I think they are doomed. But yeah, for Eastleigh, I think there's bigger issues at that club. I don't know whether either of you read the statement that came out with the managerial appointment. Obviously, Stuart Donald has been in charge of the club for a long time. I think it's 3 years now. Pumped in a lot of money, but the statement came out and said, without his support, we'd like to be operating with a playing budget at the lower end of the National League South and a part-time status. And there's talk of him walking away from the club at the end of the season. It's just the cost of the utility bills now outweighs the income generated from season tickets. So there's real questions about the sustainability of that club. They've obviously been a big money club from owners in previous times, and I'm really worried for that club in terms of even if they did stay up this season, what it means for their future. And it's a question about sustainability generally in football. And it stems from stuff like not having 3 promotion places in the league and all of that kind of thing. So yeah, worrying times for Eastleigh. Sorry to be the downer on it. I know you got 3 points for the first time in a long time, but yeah, big problems at that club by the sounds of it.
yeah, definitely. I didn't actually read that, mate, so I'm pleased you brought that up because I hadn't read that. So yeah, that is worrying if they do stay up because they've got a lot of big players on probably good money as well that we talked about in the summer, saying about the side like Aaron Pierre, people like Aaron Blair, players like that. So there's some players there that you think they'll probably lose if they have to try and make ends meet somehow. So could be damaging for them. Ryan, what did you make of this one, mate?
Yeah, I agree with Louis in terms of Truro. I think they're all but down now. I mean, the last time I came on this podcast, I think it was early September, and they just played Aldershot at home, and they were 2-1 up in that game. And this was when Aldershot were not the Aldershot that they are now. It was obviously a game at the time that they needed to win, and they were 2-1 up, and Aldershot were down to 9 men, and they ended up drawing the game. And from that moment on, to be honest, I feared for them, because they're the kind of games you've got to get over the line if you've got any chance of obviously staying in the division. I do feel for them. It must be difficult attracting players, given obviously where they are in terms of location. Absolutely miles away from just everyone and everywhere. Must be difficult for them, but I think they'll be happy, that they'll be proud of the effort that the players have put in. They have upset the odds a few times. They've had a few decent results and things like that, but on the whole, they just haven't quite been good enough for the level. And look, I'm sure the fans will be disappointed that they're obviously getting relegated, but they'll have a lot more local games again next season, and I'm sure they'll be competitive again in the National League South, because they seem like a well-run club, and yeah, they've done well to even get to this level, if we're being honest. In terms of the game, obviously Eastleigh edged it in the end. I thought, to be honest, obviously the winning goal came from a corner, but it was a real cheap corner to concede from Truro's point of view. And it's just a long ball up the field, and the Truro left backs just headed it straight out for a corner needlessly. So I know they obviously won the game late, but it could have been avoided by not giving away that corner, and at least they'd have come away with a point and something to build from. But to come away with nothing is a real bad one for them. And as you both of you guys have said, I think they're the one that are sort of really cut adrift now, and have got pretty much no chance of staying up, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. Last up, sorry, Louis. Yeovil 3, Sutton 2. From what I've seen of this, I don't think Yeovil can believe their luck that they've got 3 points here. Ryan, I'll come to you first, because I know Louis doesn't really want to talk about it and relive it. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, real bad one for Sutton. Obviously, that goes without saying. I think to be 2-1 up in the 93rd minute and to come away with nothing is really sort of damaging. I mean, if Sutton could have seen out that win, they'd have had a nice little sort of gap between themselves and the bottom 4. I thought the second goal, actually, for Yeovil, I thought that was an unbelievable ball into the box. The quality on that was absolutely perfect. Obviously, Sutton will look at it from a defensive aspect and think they could have done better, but it was an unbelievable ball into the box. And I think obviously the penalty at the end, it was a bit of a lapse in concentration. The attackers just got on the blind side of the Sutton defender, and he's sort of kicked him at the back of his leg and given away a penalty. So a disaster for them. Good day for Yeovil. Obviously they've had a few disappointing results in recent weeks themselves, so they'll be quite relieved to get that one over the line. Obviously, home form is important for them, getting plenty of home results, and obviously trying to achieve safety, which I think they will. They're obviously down sort of towards the bottom, but I think they'll be okay. Yeah, massive result for them. Disappointing for Sutton. I'm sure Louis will cover Sutton more than me, but yeah, good day for James Daly as well to score 2 goals as well.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely, Louis. What happened, mate? What happened?
It was going so well until, what was it, the 93rd minute. Yeah, it was pretty much a nothing first half, really. I think we dominated the ball without really getting that final ball into the final third and creating that clear-cut chance. Yeovil had a couple of chances, but nothing really on target that I was particularly worried about. And then obviously they get the penalty in the first half. It's one of those where the defender gets the wrong side of his man, doesn't really make an attempt on the ball, but if the player goes down in that situation, the referee, it's one of those. I'll probably say it's a soft penalty. Yeovil fans will say it's a blatant penalty, but the other way around, it would be saying the opposite things. It's one of those. Got back into it, and then our second goal was really nice as well. Really lovely football, as Aggie likes to play. One touch, moving the ball around quickly. Simper puts the ball across, and Jennings gets his third goal and third in 3 games, and really on form. It looked like we were going to get 3 wins out of 3, and build some momentum to hopefully get towards that, top half, maybe mid-table. I looked at one point, I think we were 5 points off Boston with 2 games in hand, and you sort of think, well, it could be a good end to the season, and it's one step forward, 2 steps back for us. It's just we should have killed the game off. We should have just killed them off. They were pretty nothing in the second half. Didn't feel threatened at all. Go and get that third goal. Go and kill the game. Take the 3 points back on the road. And we didn't do it. And lapses in concentration. I know the ball in is good, but the defenders sort of just watch it walk across the 6-yard box with Daly to tap in at the back post, and then the penalty is another lapse in concentration from Peruti at the back. Again, credit to Campbell. He gambles on it and he gets his yard of pace going and he gets the foul, but it's poor from our point of view. Looking back, I think it might not be accurate. 13 penalties we've given away this season, an average of one every two and a half games, which is pretty abysmal. And you just kind of know at one point you're going to give one away at some point. And we've dropped 24 points from winning positions so far this season, so that's the worry. We can't see out leads at this rate. But touch wood, I do think we'll have enough to stay up. I think we've shown in a couple of games previously, obviously against Woking and Wilson, that we can perform at a good level. It's just getting that consistency out, getting enough wins to keep our head above water, which I think we'll do. I don't think it'll be pretty, but I am quite confident that we'll get over the line. That'll come back to bite me on the bum at the end of the season, maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll clip that bit up. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I think you'll be fine, mate. I think that is damaging last night, but I think you look at results for the other teams in and around you, below you. I think you'll be fine. Don't be too concerned. I don't think. Next up, we've got our 5 in 5 minutes. Louis, over to you, mate.
Yeah, quite a few good games in this one. It was hard, I think, picking the deep dive, but we have to go on the impact of the game. So yeah, Southend 0, Borehamwood 2. Big win for Borehamwood. Abdul Malik opened the scoring on the 11th minute. His first goal in 6 games for him, so he maybe can get in a bit of form towards the end of the season now. And Matt Rush wrapped it up in the 75th minute. Looked like quite a good game. Both sides had chances looking at the statistics and the attempts on goal. That's 11 points from the last 5 games for Borehamwood, so they've turned a corner after 4 defeats in a row prior to that, and they look like the side that maybe can just solidify their playoff place at the moment. With 5 altering in 1, I mean, since when do we have 6 goal thrillers in a 5 in 5? 5 different scorers on the score sheet for Tamworth. Thingy opened the scoring on 17 minutes. Knowles equalised for Altrincham just after half time, and then 1 or 2 minutes later, it was just a calamity from Altrincham. Sassy and Golden were sent off in what was a mad few minutes. Sassy goes down on the floor and kicks out at his opponent. It's a definite red card. There's no question about it. He seemed to argue with the referees. I don't know what he's arguing about in that case. And then a couple of minutes later, Golden pulls up a great save on the line, but unfortunately, as an outfield player, you can't do that, mate. It's a red card for you. Off the pitch, 9 men, and that was it. Moles converted the penalty, and then they ran away with the game. Tamworth, first win in 7 for them. Really important 3 points, I think. And Altrincham, yeah, they just sort of float around there. I think they'll be fine, but they don't make it easy for their supporters, I don't think. Wealdstone 2, Brackley 1. Danny Newton, another red card, affecting a game, got sent off on the 22nd minute. Obviously, Wealdstone's first game without Sam Cox after he was sacked on the weekend. Adarkwe and Tashuka scored on the 31st and the 64th minute for the Stones. Roberts did pull one back for Brackley on the 78th minute, but it's 2 defeats on the bounce now in 2 games for Andy Wing, so not the best start for him. We were obviously very positive about his appointment, but maybe not out of the waters yet for him. He needs to get a couple of results under his belt. Back onto Wednesday night. Sorry, Craig. Braintree 1, Aldershot 2. 0-0 at half time, but then Patton scores after 15 minutes. It's the kind of goal that you concede when you are down the bottom. It just comes off his backside or the back of his leg and it trickles into the back of the net, and you think it's going to be one of those nights. Harris did equalise for Braintree on 60 minutes, but then Henry hoovered up the 3 points for Aldershot in the 80th minute. 1 defeat in 10 for Aldershot now, 23 points from the 30 that they could get. It's an impressive form from them. They are flying. I think it's only York and Rochdale, as we said previously, that are above them in the form guide. For Braintree, they've got Truro away, Gateshead away, Wealdstone at home, and Morecambe away in the next 4 games. An absolutely massive couple of weeks for them. If they go and get a good number of points in them, I could be sweating a bit, but we'll see what happens there. And then the last game of our deep dive, Dan, Hartlepool 3, Carlisle 1. Bad day at the office for Carlisle. Just when you think they've sort of maybe turned a corner, they go and throw in a stinker like this. So Sinclair opened the scoring on the 12th minute. From what you said, it seems as if Hartlepool could have been outside by half time, and they go and do what they should have done. They scored just after half time. Alex Reid gets the second goal. McAdam gets sent off with about 30 minutes remaining to make the task even harder for Carlisle before Ogoki wrapped up the 3 points, and Kelly added a consolation 1 minute later. Hartlepool is funny. 9 goals in their last 3 games. Before that, 10 goals in their previous 11 games. So they found their scoring boots at the right time, just as they're trying to get into those playoff places. And full credit to them, it's a big 3 points, and they'll look to push on from there. And then the 6th game that didn't happen, Woking against Solihull, was postponed about an hour before kickoff. Really poor from Woking, I think, or the referee on this case didn't think the pitch was playable. You look at the pitch, and it's just like, how on earth do you think that game is going to go ahead? Funnily enough, we talk about Rochdale's fixture backlog. Woking now have 15 games to play in 8 weeks. So good luck fitting them in. It looks like you're going to have 3 games in a week at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Well rounded up, mate. Well rounded up. So what we'll do before we finish up, we'll do our quick fire predictions. So we'll do the weekend games in the National League first, and then we'll just cover the FA Trophy like we have done in the previous rounds and just pick who's going to win the games. So we'll start with the first game of the weekend, Aldershot Rochdale. Ryan?
Ooh, that's a tough one to call, given Aldershot's form. I'll go for a 1-0 Rochdale on the basis that they simply have to win now to keep up with York. So I'll go for 1-0 Rochdale.
Yeah. I've gone 2-2. Desmond's out for this one. I just think Aldershot are in such good form. Rochdale have been drawn a lot of games. It just screams draw to me. Louis?
I'm going to go 1-1 on this one. I think this is the start of York running away with the league.
Yeah, next up we've got Brackley Altrincham. I'll go first. I've got 2-1 Brackley in this one. Louis?
I'll stick the 0-0 in early. 0-0.
Ryan?
Ooh. I'll go with 1-1 on that one.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a one for the neutrals, I don't think. Next, we've got Eastleigh Carlisle. Louis?
2-1 Carlisle.
Ryan?
I'll go with 2-0 Carlisle.
Yeah, even though what I witnessed on Wednesday night against Hartlepool has thrown me off a little bit, but I'm going 1-0 Carlisle. I think scrape this one. Halifax Sutton next. Ryan?
That's an interesting one, because Halifax usually do really well against the top sides and struggle against the bottom sides. I'm going to go for a 1-1 on this one.
Yeah. Louis?
It's a long old journey after having travelled to Yeovil last night. 2-2. I'm going back my boys to get a point.
Yeah, I haven't done that, sadly. I've gone 2-1 Halifax. I think they might be full of confidence after that comeback against Rochdale. Next up, we've got Gateshead Forest Green. I'll go first. I've got Desmond again in this one, 2-2. Louis?
Yeah, Desmond for me as well. 2-2.
Ryan?
I'm going to back Forest Green, actually, to end their winless run in this one. I'll go with a 3-1 Forest Green.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Scunthorpe Solihull. Ryan?
I'm going to go, we don't really do clean sheets. I'm going to back the lads to get back on the winning trail. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Scunthorpe.
Yeah, similar to you, for me, you don't keep clean sheets. You've conceded a few goals. Solihull like a goal. I've gone 3-2 Scunthorpe. Louis?
I'll go 3-1 Scunthorpe.
Next up, we've got Tamworth Boreham Wood. I've got 2-0 Boreham Wood. Ryan?
Ooh, I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I'll go for 2-2.
Desmond. Next up, we've got Truro Braintree.
Do you not want my prediction?
Ooh. Given the way these relegation games have been going,
Dan,
I just
you missed me out on the Tamworth Boreham Wood, mate.
Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry. What did you have for that one, mate?
It's fine, mate. Don't worry. 2-0 Boreham Wood.
It's because I knew you had the same as me. That's what it was. I knew. Telepathic, told you. Truro Braintree next. I'll go first. Screams a draw again. I'm going 1-1. Louis?
I'm going to go 1-0 Braintree.
Craig will be a fan of you this week. He hasn't been happy with us the last few
Give them
weeks.
some love.
Ryan?
0-0.
Yeah, I toyed with 0-0. I did. And then last up is the late game, which is Morecambe against York. Ryan?
4-0 York. Based on what I saw the other day, I think Morecambe will struggle in this one. Yeah, I'm going to go 4-0 York. So congratulations, Morecambe.
Louis?
4-1 York.
Yeah, I've got 4-1 as well. I just thought it'd be like Morecambe will probably score a goal from the halfway line like they have done in recent weeks or something. But York will batter them. I'll be shocked if they don't. And then next up, before we finish, we've got the FA Trophy. 4 games. We'll literally just read them out and say who we think is going to win. So we'll start with Horsham versus Southend. Ryan?
Ooh, I'm going to go a bit controversially, so I'll go with Horsham. I was very impressed with them when they came to Scunthorpe in the last round, actually, and especially with the bin at home. I think that they could cause an upset here. I'll go with Horsham.
Louis?
I think Southend just had too much for them. I do like Horsham. I think they're a good side, but yeah, Southend to go through.
Yeah, I wanted to go with Horsham, I really did, but I just couldn't quite make a case for it. So Southend for me. Kidderminster against Wealdstone. Louis?
I think Kiddie win this. Yeah, back in Kiddie.
Yeah, me too. I've got them as well. Ryan?
I agree with that one. I think Kidderminster will win that one. Yeah.
Next up, we've got Marine against Woking. Ryan?
I'll go with Woking on this one. I think it'll be a tough game. I think it'll be close, especially with it being at Marine. But I think Woking will just get the job done on this one.
Louis?
Yeah, it just feels like this is probably Woking's priority between now and the end of the season. So yeah, I've gone with Woking.
Yeah, same. I've gone for that as well. And because they didn't play midweek as well, they'll be fresh. That as well. And then last up, we've got Southport Yeovil. Louis?
Having watched Yeovil on the zone last night, I'm going to back Southport here. I'm not salty.
Yeah, I've gone, I've gone for them as well. I've gone for Southport as well. Ryan?
I'm going to go for Yeovil. I'll go for Yeovil on penalties. I think it'd be another one that'll be a real tight game. I'll go for Yeovil just.
Yeah. So that's our predictions. That's everything covered. Thanks to Ryan for joining us for the second time this season. Hope you've enjoyed it, mate. Louis, thank you as always. And we did hit 1,000 subscribers as recently as well. So thank you to everybody who's been hitting that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already and you like what you hear or like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button while you're here as well. Thanks everyone, and see you again soon.